Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is jealous of her husband's coworker. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we don't know what we're talking about. We are not professionals. We are not trained in any of this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, I'm going to dive into today's letter. It's from Jealous Wife, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from an oversized, dirty moo-moo. Hi, y'all. I am married to an amazing, creative, trustworthy, and tender man, he, him, with whom I have a 1-month-old son. We live in a very small town. My husband is a business owner, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband and I met at the business he owns. At the time, we were both employees. During COVID, I decided to pursue other avenues of work, and he and I lost touch. Shortly after, we reconnected, started dating, and became very committed to each other. He bought the business around that time and was stuck having to hire someone new to fill the receptionist position that I used to work in there. I am in my early 20s, and my husband is quite a bit older, so even though we are from the same small town, our circles are generally dissimilar. That being the case, he hired a woman that I absolutely hate without even knowing it. I have a deep rage, resentment, and jealousy that has just sat under the surface of my skin for the last year and a half since he hired her. I've known this woman since middle school. She's a few years older than me, and we have many mutual friends, but we're never close. I've always viewed her as more privileged, hotter, and more personable than myself. She has parents that stayed together, lived in a small city near the tiny town I lived in, had more friends, and access to the resources that I did not. On top of this huge jealousy I have for her, I also don't trust her. She has always made a point to flirt with any boyfriend I've ever had, and even in one case went as far as to facilitate an ex of mine cheating on me with her best friend. So I obviously had some big wounds around this person. Her job requires that she produces social media content for my husband's business. She's always posting edits of him with hearts or slightly suggestive things about him. Or she will feature his work more often than other employees. She even posted on her personal social media about being attracted to a celebrity who is nearly a carbon copy of my husband. When we all get together, she frequently talks over me to speak to him or brings up workplace jokes that I clearly wouldn't get. My husband is totally oblivious to this. He is a one-track mind type of person who is very much into me, and I can tell infidelity or other women being interested just doesn't cross his mind. We have a family together. We are married. That seems like it should be enough to soothe my mind, but I just feel so insane when I think about it. I feel like I am now just a boring mom, and he gets to relive time with another young woman in my spot who is cool and fun and not covered in baby vomit and crusty breast milk. The worst part is that I had such a huge crush on my husband back when we used to work together, and I can't stop imagining her feeling the same way about him. I keep thinking about them at work together and how magnetizing it is to watch him be creative and intelligent in that space. She sits exactly where he and I used to flirt and read and look up our art together. Even though I trust him so deeply, why is the thought of her crushing on him so maddening to me?
Oh my goodness. Jealous wife, thank you so much for writing to us. I just the way that you paint this picture is so clear, right? Of you and this dirty moo-moo with your covered in baby vomit and crusty breast milk. And then this beautiful young woman sitting in this office in the exact same spot where you used to sit and just flirting with your husband, right? It is out of a movie. It is so clear, this picture of what is happening that you've created. And I just want to say that that's that's a challenging character to play in the movie that you have created of what's going on here, right? Like the one that's stuck at home, the one that, is taking care of the baby and sleep deprived and covered in baby vomit versus this woman who is somehow every person's dream, right? And I want to sort of like honor that is the way that this story feels to you, and to say like that is a challenging place to be in. And I think what Sierra and I are going to hopefully offer you is an opportunity to maybe disrupt the script that you've created for how this is going to go and what this means for you and your husband. Not so that you can be okay with this woman, because I don't think you need to be friends with her or like her in any way, but instead to sort of offer an off-ramp towards this resentment and jealousy that you're feeling into something that might be more helpful and sustainable for you specifically, given that I don't think this person is going anywhere and you're not going anywhere either. So we're going to get into some of that in just a minute, but for right now, we're going to take a short break.
All right, my darling. Thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this letter. I first just want to say you have a 1-month-old child. And looking back at that time of my life with my daughter, that was the most magical and lumpy, sticky, unshowered time of my life. You're sleep deprived. You're just at a vulnerable time. And so I want to say to you, of course, these feelings feel insane, as you say, or impossible. Not only do you have a history with this person that you just don't seem to jive with, which, as a reminder, is okay. Not everyone is for us. We are not for everyone. But you also have the emotional trigger of feeling maybe like this person has more privilege than you, had an easier upbringing than you, and whether or not that is true, it is a wound. It's there is such thing as economic wounds and privilege, jealousy, that you wish you had what she had. So let's recap. You've got a 1-month-old baby. You're sleep deprived. Your body's adjusting. How are those hormones feeling? How are those night sweats going? Because they're not fun. They're not peaceful. They're not sexy, right? And you have history with this person that makes you feel insecure about your value as a human, and you just don't like her. So of course you're struggling with these feelings. And at the same time, Sam and I are here to push you a little into maybe an uncomfortable place where you ask yourself, how are these feelings serving me? Not the feelings of dislike. You don't need to like this person.
You don't.
But these feelings of jealousy, these fantasies about her being into your husband, how are they serving you? What are they giving you? The reality is she very well might have a crush on your husband. Mm-hmm. Period. So what would that mean? What would it mean to you if she said, you know what, you're right. I do have a crush on so-and-so's husband. Okay. Is she married to him? Are they sleeping together? No. Can she do anything about that crush? Maybe be a little annoying. But again, I also think I think when we're feeling really insecure and our jealousy is the loudest thing in our head, we can prescribe meaning to things to affirm those feelings of insecurity and jealousy. For example, I don't think that she's intentionally bringing up inside office jokes to make you feel isolated. She's probably doing it because that's what her and her coworkers talk about. Mm-hmm. When Sam and Spencer and I get together and our spouses are there, we often talk about just break up stuff. We often talk about the thing that we share. And I don't say this to be pro this woman, or I'm not even saying this to be you're overreacting. I'm trying to offer you off ramps to some of these thought patterns that you're telling us aren't serving you. And the reality is she could very well have a crush on him, And then what we are left with is the option. We have two options. We can either grind ourselves up against the fact that this person has a crush on our husband. Oh my God, what is she? She's going to be enticing. She's going to be cute. She's going to be flirty. She has a crush on our husband. What are we going to do? We are being threatened right now. Boo, boo, boo. All these sirens are going off.
Yep.
But what is there to do other than to fire her? Like, I think you could tell your husband that her presence makes you feel insecure. But at the end of the day, the reason why I'm posing it this way, which is very long-winded and kind of obscure, but at the end of the day, this reminds me of the idea that all of our partners will have a history. Everybody's going to come to us with a history. Nobody is a clean slate, right? And sometimes we just have to accept that history. Similarly, sometimes we just have to accept that our husbands are fine as hell, or that there's people in their lives. There's people in their lives that are going to find them desirable. And I'm not saying like roll over and take this person's, flirting with your husband, but also what are you, a grown woman? What are we meant to do with these feelings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really helpful, because I think part of it is like, part of like what comes from like jealousy or resentment is this idea that like we somehow shouldn't be feeling the thing that we're feeling, right? Like this idea of like, I should love this person, or I should like be friends with this person, or like I'm being so irrational and otherwise this person would like, in my dislike for this person. And like, there's lots of reasons for you to be annoyed with this woman, right? Like, it's annoying. I love Peter and many of his coworkers. It's also annoying when they just talk about work all the time, right? Like, that is an annoying thing, right? Like, it's annoying to be talked over. I get that. Absolutely. It's annoying or frustrating that this person has like gone after all of your partners before and like helped your ex cheat on you. Like, that's frustrating, right? Like, it's annoying that she is, posting all of these pictures about your husband at the expense of other people. Like, and I want to just say that because like, I want to say that like the things that she's doing for sure are annoying, but they don't necessarily lead up to like a bigger picture of something that is like bad or nefarious that you need to like be on the lookout for, right? Like, you don't have to justify your annoyance with this person by saying she's trying to steal my husband, right? Like, she's just annoying. Just I get it.
She's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Like, she's caused you harm. I believe you. And I think that there's this thing that like always happens. This happens especially on reality television, where it's like, I trust my husband, I just don't trust her. And that concept has like never made sense to me because it's like, if you trust your husband, period, that's the end. Like, what's going to happen if your husband is trustworthy? Nothing, right? Like, that's like the period is at the end of that part of the sentence, not the second piece of it. And I want you to remember that, right? Like, I trust my husband. He's not paying any attention to this. It is not crossing his mind. And honestly, like, if you want to be a little petty, how sad is it that this woman has we're speculating, has this like huge crush on your husband and is apparently like throwing herself at him all the time and is just like constantly rebuffed by a person who's not even paying attention to her. like what? Like, that's like the most petty thing that I will say in 2023 version of Just Break Up. But like, that's how I would look at it. Like, if it's just like, oh, it's sad for her that she has this crush on this man that she'll never get because he wants to come home to me, even though I'm covered in baby vomit and crusty breast milk and wearing the same muumuu for the 4th time this week, right? Like, all of those things. And he still wants to come home to me and isn't paying a lick of attention to this woman, right? Like, I'm trying to offer multiple ways to like try and reframe some of the like pathways that you're following down, because I want off ramps, right? And if that off ramp is petty, I don't care. Like, it's okay, right? As long as you're not like being mean to her, like in real life or whatever. But like, if you need a narrative, if you need a different narrative about what's happening right now.
That's it.
Yep.
And that's what I mean when I say, how are these feelings serving you? Because they're not right now. And we can utilize, they're serving you to make you feel deeply insecure and unlovable, right? And so how can we reroute these feelings to feel like, wow, that's a little uncomfortable. Wow, I don't actually enjoy this person. And at the same time that we're feeling that discomfort, we can be like, well, he's married to me. Welp, just because she's sitting in that chair doesn't mean she's going to take this life. Just because yada, yada, yada doesn't mean X, Y, and Z. Like, how are we rerouting these thoughts? And to be honest, I think that it's possible for us collectively to be jealous forever. We can be,
for sure.
We can find enough fuel in our insecurity and our own self-loathing and our loathing for other people, like our internalized sexism and all of these things. We can be jealous forever. And then what happens next? Then you have to just say, when is this feeling not going to actually serve the purposes of my life anymore? And it's honestly, it's going to come when you have a toddler and you don't have any energy for these feelings. JK.
When you have a toddler and you get Lyme disease.
Oh my God, that's me. Anyway, if it's not abundantly clear, like, I have been here, I will be here again. Like, I will feel the feelings that you're feeling again at some point in my life. All of these feelings are so relatable, and while your situation is unique to you, it makes so much sense that you're feeling really triggered by the presence of this person. It makes sense, of course. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't have a 1-month-old baby, honestly, if you didn't have a 1-month-old baby, I bet it'd be worse because you'd have more time and energy to fixate on this woman. And also, you can grant yourself the opportunity of a response instead of a reaction. That takes time. It takes training. You're not going to feel great about this person tomorrow. It's going to take you. Maybe you never like her. You never have to like her. You never have to feel great that she works there. But you can practice sitting in that discomfort. For me, it would be like, okay, I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling elevated. My nervous system is going off. I'm going to tell myself it's okay that I feel these warning bells. They're not telling me something specific. They're not telling me something that I need to interpret or pay attention to or prevent. They're just telling me that I'm heightened right now. I feel sensitive right now.
For sure.
Another thing is, I can't believe you've kept this simmering under you for 1.5 years. Like, I hope if you haven't already, please offload some of this to your husband. Not that your husband needs to answer to this person, but because you two are in a beautiful, trusting, supportive partnership, and you deserve to be able to to carry some of this with him. He doesn't have to make excuses for this person. He doesn't have to change his working relationship with her because to us it seems fine. But you can at least say to him something like, "Hi, honey, I just wanted you to know that I have these shitty experiences with this person in the past, and also their upbringing and their family, their home life make me feel really insecure. And so they're just a very difficult person for me. They make me feel jealous of their life. I'm insecure because they're so pretty and popular. Can you affirm me that you want to be with me and not them? I know it's silly, but it would make my mental processing a lot easier." If you haven't done this already, it's not about talking shit, although hey, Sam's right. Talk shit if that makes you feel better. Hear your husband be like, "Oh my God, she was so annoying today," or whatever, But it's mostly about you reaching out to your husband and saying, it's okay to ask him for affirmation, even though you don't want to be feeling these insecure feelings and you trust him and nothing's going to happen. It's okay for you to say "Can you remind me nothing's going to happen?"
I think that's absolutely true, right? I think sometimes when we talk about jealousy, it's we have to figure it out on our own. And I think that part of that is because so often jealousy comes out in really unhealthy ways, right? Where instead of trying to do exactly what Sierra said, which is try and affirm our insecurities in a way that is
carry it together or process it together.
Reciprocal and understandable. We try to get our needs met in ways that are really unhealthy, right? Which is I know that you're sleeping with her, all of that stuff that can kind of come out. But jealousy is something that can thrive in the dark. So I would say bring some of it into the light and use the good relationship that you have with your husband to offer you some love and attention and affection, especially at a time where you are feeling, overwhelmed and not attractive and all of the things that can happen, particularly at this point in raising a tiny little human infant, right? And it's okay for you to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed by this, right? I saw on social media that you posted a picture of you and it caused me to feel all these different things. And can you just tell me that you love me? Or can you just hold my hand for 10 minutes? Or can you just, give me a big hug? Whatever it needs to be, because these feelings, even though they come from a story that you might be telling yourself that may or may not be true, the feelings are absolutely real. And those feelings need to be tended to. And inviting your husband into it can not only help make those feelings a little bit less big for you, but also can strengthen the bond that the two of you have, which makes it even easier to then ignore this woman who is doing whatever she's doing to try and steal your husband from you, even though that may not actually be what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I totally agree. We know this is really tricky, and it's more complicated than us just saying you have to deal with these feelings. We know that it's more nuanced, it's more complicated. There are roots that connect to this pain that need to be dealt with. And also we know that your relationship is strong. Yourself is strong. You can do hard things. We can choose to, have a malleable relationship with our emotions. We can find out how they're serving us, how they're not serving us, and we can choose what to carry into the next day or the next emotional flare up or whatever. You can do this. You can process through this. You can find out how to best and in the most productive way dislike this person.
I love that. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I love it.
All right, darling. We love you so much. Congratulations on your beautiful baby, and your beautiful relationship. We hope that this helps.
Absolutely. We love you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more content from us, or if you want ad-free episodes, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast. And remember, jealousy is often understandable, and it is almost always trying to tell us something else. Something that we feel insecure about, or something that we fear is true about ourselves or our loved ones. It's worth it to explore what's behind the jealousy. What is the jealousy protecting or preventing? And if all else fails,
just break up.